Nigeria's economic growth and empowerment was in focus at the 16th Annual Banking and Finance Conference of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, CIBN, at the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, earlier in the week. Acting Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Folashodun Shonubi, during the opening ceremony noted that the financial sector was fighting below its weight with a current 3.6% contribution to the country's gross domestic product (GDP) and highlighted what must be done to move it up, giving a task to the CIBN against the institution's next conference. We have details of that in today's package, plus the continuation of the panel discussion session on new strategies for combating e-fraud in a cashless environment at the recent Q3 meeting of the Nigeria Electronic Fraud Forum (NeFF) held in Lagos. All after this message from the CBN. Stay with us.
Oh, I see. Just hold on in that case. Let me call out my PIN. It is 41...
Uncle, please stop.
Stop what?
You're giving someone else your personal identification number PIN?
Not someone else. It's from my bank.
Please hang up, Uncle. That's a fraudster.
That's not true. But they call out my full name. I am sure this is from my bank.
Uncle, no bank is ever going to call you to ask for your personal identification number PIN, your mobile banking password, or your card verification code, CVC.
But it sounded so genuine.
Yes, hackers and fraudsters always sound genuine. But please, Uncle, don't fall for their bait. Don't respond to any phony emails, text message, SMS, and don't click on any link you're not sure of.
Even if they call your date of birth or your BVN, don't give them your security details.
If you suspect any issue with your account, please go to your bank.
Oh, I see.
This message is from the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Welcome back. For 2 days, Tuesday the 5th and Wednesday the 6th of September, the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, CIBN, gathered the who is who in the financial space in the country and beyond for its 16th Annual Banking and Finance Conference at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel, Abuja. The event is reputed to be the largest gathering of banking and finance professionals in Africa and serves as a platform for stakeholders in the financial ecosystem to come together to drive conversation on topical issues that are important for the growth and stability of the sector and the economic development of the country, with the aim of proffering insightful solutions beneficial to all. This year's theme, Nigeria's economic growth and empowerment, the role of the financial service industry, brought up critical issues for discussion during the entire duration of the conference, which featured speakers and panelists drawn from a wide range of professionals in the banking and finance industry. At the opening ceremony, President and Chairman of Council, Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, CIBN, Dr. Ken Okpara, in his address, expressed hope that the plans and reforms of the President Bola Tinubu-led government, when followed through, will return the economy to growth path.
In addition, we encourage the national government to put in place measures to boost export, expansion, and also creation of favorable export climate, reduction of trade barriers, increasing investment in infrastructure, which today is one of the discussion points, addressing the inadequate power supply and transportation. We also believe that a special dedicated fund to support the processing of agro-allied products will boost export earning. This is important, Your Excellency, because we keep exporting raw materials and importing finished goods. Such gives us only 10% of the value. Some of the conversation that would happen in these 2 days will center around monetary policies and financial inclusion, bridging the gaps, unlocking economic growth and development through SMEs.
Chairman Body of Banks CEO, Mr. Ebenezer Onyagu, was concerned that Nigeria is yet to realize its full potential, despite being the largest economy on the continent.
Being the biggest economy in Africa is one thing, but are we also the highest growth economy in Africa? If we drill now and start looking at other key variables about our economy, the one I like to talk about is The statistics of the World Bank that says that in the last, from 2018 to date, average GDP growth rate in Nigeria is put at about 1.72%, whereas average population growth is at about 2.4%, which means progressively we are going into poverty. Progressively, our per capita income is deteriorating. Progressively, we are likely to face a scenario where there is not only depletion in the value and quantity of public goods, but we could also be ending in a situation where you have mass social unrest. Therefore, it's not compelling for every one of us to take a deliberate look at growing the economy. Consistently in the last few years, we have had very concerning deficit in our balance of payment. My little economist tells me that if you have that scenario, the only thing we are saying is that we are importing more than we are exporting. Therefore, if we are looking at as our country, and in terms of changing the narratives, in terms of shifting the paradigm, we now need to begin to look at us growing what we consume and exporting what we consume. Otherwise, we are not going to change the balance of payment deficits.
Acting Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Folashadu Adebisi Shonubi, in his goodwill message, commended the banking industry's contributions to various initiatives over time that have been helpful to the economy. He, however, charged the industry to be more involved beyond intermediating inflows and identify the drivers that can boost the financial sector's contribution to the growth of the economy.
Yes, I've heard all the nice things we're capable of doing. I've heard that at the end of the 2 days of the conference we're here, we'll have a nice report. It's not good enough for me. And I'll tell you why. I look at the numbers of the economy. The banking industry contributes about 3.6%, thereabouts. And I like to compare us to the telecoms industry that contributes about 16%. So what's so special about them? They say they have how many phone lines, and we all know that phone lines are duplicated. We have almost the same number of bank accounts. So what's the problem? Are we saying we're a quarter of the telecoms industry? I don't think so. So when we look at economic contribution, I'm sorry, we're fighting below our weight. So can we promise them that instead of 3.6%, we'll be contributing a lot more than that? And then we sit down and find what the drivers are that we can influence, that we can do. I don't want to put a number in front for anybody. What is what I would like to see at the end of the 2 days. We're not shooting for 3.6%. We're shooting for much more.
The conference keynote speaker, Country Director, World Bank, Mr. Shubham Chaudhary, pointed out that Nigeria's national pie is shrinking and all hands must be on deck to grow it, rather than be more concerned about sharing.
More Nigerians start up their own businesses than in other countries. Part of it is also the fact that, as we also heard, Nigeria is a very young country. I think 70% are under 30, 50% are under 17. So it's truly a young country, and that's the demographic dividend that awaits Nigeria if this generation helps realize the potential so that those who are the children right now can really realize their full potential. And of course, we heard about the natural resources that Nigeria has. When I arrived in Nigeria in September of 2019, and in January of 2020, there was this Newsweek cover which talked about Nigeria as the world's next superpower. And that's basically the potential. You're already Africa's giant, but you have the potential to be a giant on the global stage. And last this is me speaking not as an economist, but just based on experience in other countries. What it will take is, again, going back to some of the messages we heard earlier, it's really a consensus amongst, especially the elites, political business elites, that we're not asking, you don't have to be any less self-interested. Elites everywhere are self-interested, but maybe a bit more patient, the sense that everyone can get a bigger piece of the pie if the national pie grows, rather than continually competing and fighting over a national pie that's shrinking.
President Bola Tinubu was represented at the CIBN conference by Vice President Kashim Shettima. He described the financial services industry as the unsung heroes of the global stage for the role it played during the COVID-19 pandemic. He pointed out that understanding linkages between the financial sector and the real economy is essential for policymakers in order to manage economic stability and growth.
I am not here as an advocate for blame, but as a proponent of hope. Here to share with you President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's vision for a path to the redemption of our nation, a path on which you have a significant role to play. Our economic revival plan, which is already in play, is an 8-point agenda in which you are stakeholders. We have resolved to prioritize food security and ending poverty. We are prioritizing economic growth and job creation. We are prioritizing access to capital and improving security. We are prioritizing improving the playing field on which people, and particularly companies like yours, operate. We are also prioritizing the rule of law and the fight against corruption. Each agenda cannot be fully implemented without your cooperation. Our focal points, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, have made us co-travelers in the service of the people. Of course, your profits won't be disrupted. We are not here to manage your losses either. We are here to mitigate them. We must now do what pessimists may regard as impossible, turning the economy in a record time.
The 16th Annual Banking and Finance Conference of the CIBN is expected to come up with practical ideas on how expertise in the industry can be harnessed to drive economic growth that is inclusive and sustainable. Thank you for staying tuned. This is from the CBN, a weekly program that brings to you reports and expert analysis of the actions, policies, events, and economic initiatives of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. The Q3 General Meeting of the Nigeria Electronic Fraud Forum, NeFF, held at the Eko Hotel and Suite in Lagos some days back, where institutional collaborators during panel discussion examined the missing link in combating e-fraud in a cashless environment. We have more for you from their discussion.
Now, we've listened to the various perspectives, and I think I will now go to our learned silk, Mr. Sani Katu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Now, if there's a crime, usually there should be an arrest, and after the offender has been apprehended, he should be prosecuted, and we should expect a conviction. Now, from your perspective, do you think there are some difficulties or challenges or gaps or problems in our entire judicial system or legal framework that you think we should address so that the fight against crime can be more effective?
You see, there is one fundamental word that has been said by most of the presenters or speakers. And that word keeps going in and out of their speeches. And that word is fraud. So if that is the word, if that word fraud is the one that is working in their mind and then in the mind of everybody here, the question that should come into the mind of everybody is, have we taken any steps to ensure that this fraud does not exist? And if it does exist, what steps have we taken to ensure that it does not escalate? One of the speakers was even saying that the thing is growing and growing. You see, if things are growing, it's that they are growing in the good dimension or they are growing in the bad dimensions. And if they are growing in the good dimensions, it means there are things that are pushing them to grow. And if they are growing in the bad dimension, it means there are also things or aspects of our living status that is making them to also move towards that line. There are laws, there's no doubt about that. If the question everybody will ask is, are there laws that governs the existence or prevention of this fraud? Yes, so many laws. The FCC Act, the ICPC Act, the Money Laundering Act, and so many other that you can mention. But the question is, are they properly being applied in the system? Most times, coming back to your questions, most times I feel very happy if I'm doing a case against the bank. Why? Because I know it is a 70% win. With utmost respect. Not because the legal departments of the bank are not working, but because they are not fully utilizing the laws that gives them protections, that protect them in whatever they are doing. Somebody is arrested. Someone commits fraud, because that is the word now. Either by way of e-fraud or whatever fraud. There are certain of accounts that will show that, yes, there was a fraud. The matter is reported to, with utmost respect, EFCC. They conducted their investigations, went through all the whatever, and discovered, yes, from their report, there is a fraud. They arraigned that person in court. The most important witness that will give fundamental evidence is the banker. Of course, maybe the account will, account manager, or whatever you call him. Now you bring him to the court to come and testify that yes, this is the pattern of banking. And at the course of performance of my duty towards adhering to the patterns of banking, I discovered that there is an irregularity committed by so-so person. As simple as that, and then he tenders his document. At the course of doing this, he will vary. For those of us that have this, that God has assigned to make money from some of these their shortcomings, we will use these loopholes. Clearly, there are laws of evidence on how to tender documents. The legal department of the bank knows this. There are documents that you cannot just tender ordinarily. They need to be certified. There are backgrounds that you must lay that this statement of account emanates from a computer from a particular bank, that you are a staff. All these things are stated there. But by the time you come and then you did not lay a very good foundation, it means you have thrown away the case. And like I rightly said, a very good lawyer will cash on that and then the matter is gone. One other fundamental thing on how to solve all these issues are, you see, we discovered at the course of practice that the chunk of the fraud itself, cumulatively, 60% emanates from the banks, from our insider information. I'm sorry, with all due respect. If, for instance, there is a fraud that has to do with what you call a Yahoo, or you call this Yahoo boss or whatever, and the matter gets to us, as usual, we will discover that the amount is minimal. They will just use somebody's account to purchase properties, shop, to buy clothing or whatever. But you see, when you discover a fraud that has to do with billions, it has to go through a company account, and if it's going through a company account, it means, I'm sorry, but I think I must say it, that there is and there was, or whichever way you use, an insider information. And that is why when the matters come to court, you discover that at the cost of prosecution, those that are determined to prosecute the criminals will not succeed. We gave an advice to the government that, look, constitute a particular magistrate that will give an order. The moment you discover that there is a fraudulent transaction in your account, you rush to the magistrate court, you put a, what do you call it?
Candy.
An order to stop further transaction in that bank, and then you give details to stop, to tell the other side, so that there will be an investigation. There are procedures that you must satisfy to show that, yes, you are the owner of that bank, that account. As soon as you do that, then you get an order, you submit to the commercial banks. Yes, the transaction will be stopped. But before you know it, the fraudsters, having discovered that you have put a lien in their own account, will now go to a high court, obtain an order, defreezing that account as well. And then they will bring it back to the bank. And what did the bank do? Within 24 hours, they will tell you that we have sent an email, we have sent a mail to our headquarters in Lagos, and Lagos said the court order from High Court is superior to that of the Magistrate Court. It's not done that way. An order is an order until it's been set aside or modified. So if you have an order from Magistrate Court that says freeze, another order from High Court says defreeze, that's not the way it's been done. Some of us that know what I'm talking knows what I think we should understand. Another remains, it has been defreezed, that's been defreezed. You want to defreeze it, there's a procedure. You go on appeal or you do whatever you are supposed to do. I'm very sorry to tell you that our discovery is fundamentally, problem is fundamentally from the in-house inability to do what is expected of us. NeFF has its aim and objectives. Push to realize these aims and objectives. If you do that, there will be no problems. The acts are very clear. There is nothing that is as easy as the law. I used to tell my other colleagues, because the law has been stated there, that if you do this, it's an offense. And the moment you are found to have done this, is that you are an offender. And what is the punishment? That is the punishment. By the time somebody did what is expected to be a fraud, and you arraign him, you are expected to have witnesses that will come and testify. And before you know it, there will be one problem or the other at the cost of testification. That is one of our major problems. And I think I should also put in, by way of conclusion, that the banks, having trained persons that are capable, persons that became knowledgeable of their systems. You see, you don't just drop them out easily like that, even if they commit an offense. Leave them within the system for a time, because by the time you push them out, they already have the knowledge of or an idea of your systems. And if they are out, they become so useful. I'm being frank, very useful to some of us. Because if we are doing a criminal case, they'll come and then apply to be consultants. And they'll tell us so many things that you think you are the only ones that knows them. And then we'll use that information to challenge you, to beat you to it at the cost of prosecution. So my own idea is the supervisory body, the central bank, must have that real control. If you do have that real control, and you discover that somebody within the system is fraudulent, find a way of dealing with that person.
That's all from the CBN this week. Be careful not to fall for any fraudulent recruitment portal or loan scheme advertisements purportedly from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Get your information from trusted sources always. Report unresolved banking issues to the CBN Consumer Protection Department using the email cpd@cbn.gov.ng. Attach relevant documents. Call the CBN Contact Center on the phone line +234 700 2255 226. Local call rates may apply. Write to us through the email address fromthecbn@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter for updates and to watch up-to-date episodes of the program. We invite you to join us again next time. I am Oluyemisi Dada. Stay safe. Bye for now.